The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
the Golgothan shit demon that is Eric Velasquez. My pronouns are also he, him. So we have a plethora this week. We're going to talk about Brides of Blood now. Let's do that.
Yeah. So we've got Brides of Blood, also known as Brides of Blood Island, or Island of Living Horror, or Jungle Fury. Classic
it's one of those.
Yeah. So this is, in that drive-in era where they would sometimes release a movie, and then if they didn't make enough money, they'd just change the name and dump it right back into the drive-in circuit and see if they could make a little bit more off of it.
As you do.
Yeah, this is, American International Pictures, that was their thing. They would, buy up foreign stuff and just keep running it through drive-ins. So I did find, so last week, obviously, we talked about Terror is a Man, which is, the first in the Blood Island series. But I've also seen this one referred to as the first of the Blood Island trilogy. And I kind of get it because it does. I mean, obviously it's in color. I think it's like 10 years after the first one. And every one of these movies is pretty standalone anyway. Yeah. So the Blood Island series is such a mess. There's up to 6 movies that could possibly be part of the series.
Sure, why not?
Fair. It's craziness.
Right. I think the only thing that matters is that at least the first few were made by basically the same guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got it was made in the Philippines, similar crew of and these middle couples. Most of the cast is even the same, even though they're playing different characters.
Right.
But yeah, the writer, director, producers are all similar groups of people, and they all theoretically take place on Blood Island, but there's not a lot of continuity about what's going on there.
Not at all. I mean, the one thing we're going to have that's consistent throughout these is there is a younger, handsome-ish man, a cuckolded husband, and a blonde, platinum blonde.
Yep, got to have a bombshell in there, yeah.
Who may be villainous or not, or is complicated, we'll say. How about that?
Yeah. So we have credits over stills of tribal statues. Our main
these don't look Filipino. These do not look from what I understand. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Let me know.
Yeah, I guess this is the Blood Island stuff. They just kind of throw some kind of stray tribal iconography that's not really any particular place. It's very much voodoo nonsense, what white people think of voodoo.
Well, I mean, it's very much in the same vein of, white people playing random tribes people, but for the Filipinos, where they're also now playing, whatever. Everybody gets to have their own colonialism, right? Why not?
Yeah. Our main the main character we have, Jim. He's the young
Jim,
lead, as you were saying.
We've seen this guy before
several times, actually. Yeah. So this is John Ashley. I think the main thing we've seen him in is Frankenstein's daughter. He's got a substantial role in that, but he's also he was also sort of a pop singer in addition to being an actor. And he sort of plays himself as a pop singer in How to Make a Monster.
Right.
So yeah, we've gotten 2 movies with him, and we'll probably see him again soon.
Right. So weird trivia, so in the 90s, or I think probably the 80s, he basically stopped acting and basically was just a producer. Mm-hmm. Just guess what random off-the-wall fucking show this guy was an executive producer of. Just take a stab.
Oh, I did not look No, I did not look that up.
Walker fucking Texas Ranger. What? What? What a connection to Chuck Norris, folks.
That's great. Yeah,
it's amazing.
The other, like, the cuckolded husband that you mentioned, Paul, who's our sort of scientist in this. He was in a lot of movies. Nothing really we've seen, but weirdly, his sort of like main claim to fame. So the actor Kent Taylor. He is one half of the actors responsible for the name of Superman's alter ego.
What? This is the Kent and Clark Kent?
Yep, Clark Gable and Kent Taylor, Clark Kent. So
they look vaguely similar. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So and then the actress, she's, what was her name? It's like
Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
yeah. We know what she's been in.
Yeah. Her, like, I think her real name was Beverly Powers. So I mean, the Hills. You can guess where she got that name from. So yeah, we'll start with them. We have like some villagers on the Island of Blood watching this boat come in, and that's where
which is a weird theme. It's like a through line through all the movies.
Yeah, we start with the boat coming in, we'll end with that boat leaving, and you know, who knows what we'll get up to on the island in the meantime. Here we have like the captain of the boat is like, "Are you sure you want to come here? This island is cursed." Again,
but wait, this guy's dead. He was he was like one of the side villains of the last one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this, like, the cuckolded husband thing here is like, it is hardcore, because so we'll find out, like, the wife in this is, her name's Carla, and like, it is just like an outright, like, everybody knows, everybody on the boat knows, Paul knows, like, it's not a secret, but he's just still trying to make it work with her.
Is he? Like, he kind of is, but also there are points where she initiates things and he's just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like he wants to stay married, but he doesn't seem particularly interested in her as like a romantic partner.
Right. Maybe this guy's ace, but he's romantic, but he's ace. Right?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, I mean, you know, of course, we didn't have a lot of this language at the time, so maybe they're fine with it, but I think she feels a lot of guilt, but she also can't stop. She's just kind of like, this is me, I'm gonna sleep around, I can't stop, and I feel like, she even says, like, I think he's coming to this cursed island to atone for my sins. And he's like, no, I've got important work I want to do here.
Right, but that's it, right? She's like, hey, I just want to bone down. And you clearly are not into that, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is it is both oddly mature for the time, but still of the time.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's like we're talking about like a relationship configuration that only now would sort of be somewhat acceptable, not really that acceptable.
No.
But it's here, like, it's just like, it's happening, everybody knows about it, and people aren't necessarily thrilled about it, but they're just kind of living their life. Like, I mean, you know, here Carla says something to the captain, like, I mean, it's good that you got me on the boat. I might, you know, I can keep the crew happy. It might prevent mutinies. And he's like,
you know,
yeah, which is, I mean, like, exactly what happened. She starts flirting with a crewman, and then the next thing we see, he's in her room, and they're, you know, like, they're having sex. And
well, they start with some CNC, and if you know, you know.
Yeah, and you know, again, this is the kind of thing where it's like, I mean, it looks like she doesn't want it, but like by the end of it, she does. And yeah, that's like, if
that could be a dangerous thing for those who aren't, you know.
Yeah, if we hadn't had the previous conversation where she pretty much explicitly told the captain, like, I will fuck your crew, this scene would seem a little edgier, because, you know, I think we've seen this a lot where you have like, the seduction scenes of this time often looked non-consensual until they suddenly were consensual. And it's weird through our lens, but in the context of this particular movie, it seems a little less edgy, because it's like, yeah, this is her thing. So yeah, she sleeps with this crew member. Meanwhile, the boat ends up docking as this is going on.
She remarks that she's never seen so many sad faces. She wants to make everybody happy. She's a people pleaser, Anthony.
Right.
I don't know, that might be the worst thing I've said so far. Or not, I don't know. But yes, she mocks them as the Rotary Club as they come in singing.
Yeah, and so, that we see all these sad people, the villagers coming through, and we find that the reason they're sad, and the reason they're sort of like making this procession through the town is that this is a funeral. They're carrying a couple dead bodies. We'll actually see, somebody stumbles and parts fall off of one of the gurneys that they're carrying the bodies on. Not whole bodies, like a head and a leg, I think, or something.
Right.
So we'll see that these are not only dead bodies, but like dismembered corpses.
So we're in the blood, guts, and boobs phase of cinema.
Mm-hmm. Hardcore, yeah. So the last one, there was not a lot of gore. I don't think there was any nudity, and it was black and white. So it was very, we had the one moment of the bell where we got a little bit of very tame gore. But they still felt like they needed to be warned, but now it's just they're going all in.
Right.
And so we have them, the tribes people throw the body parts into the ocean. This seems to be their sort of Viking funeral kind of thing. And so the visitors are like, what's up? What are these dismembered corpses? What's going on here?
Right.
And they have the villagers are leading them to a hut where they're going to stay, and they're like, oh, don't worry about that. They died of an accident.
Yeah. Heck of an accident, right? That caused the dismemberment of multiple girls.
Yeah. So basically, the visitors are talking to the chief and his granddaughter. Yeah.
Alice.
His name is Arcadio, I believe.
Yes.
And they're two of the only people on the island who speak English. So
well, she says, wait, there's also Mr. Powers. Mm-hmm. He also speaks English. So, we've got a mysterious guy. Wonder what he'll be part of. But also, she's Alice says, it'll be my pleasure to help serve you.
Mm-hmm.
To which Carla responds, well, Paul won't be of much use, but young Mr. Farrell here, he could be of use. So, they've already done it, maybe? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, everybody looks a little weirded out by this, and Paul looks annoyed. And then...
But, that's it, right? She's probably maybe once had sex with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He does not care. He's whatever.
Yeah, it seems like he's not especially interested in her, but yeah, sometimes, any port in a storm or whatever.
Right.
But... Arcadio is you all really came here at a bad time. I'm really ashamed that you're seeing us in this state.
Right, we're going back to our primitive ways, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we'll find that we have this trio of visitors that seem like they kind of came over together, but they all sort of have different intentions, different goals in mind here. So we'll find out that whereas Paul is a scientist and he's here to do some kind of research, Jim calls himself a community activist. He's sort of kind of what you see missionaries doing nowadays, but without the or maybe the Peace Corps or something.
Right.
He wants to help
in Colombia at a weird time, 50s and 60s. I don't know if you know anything was going on there. He was part of Acción Comunal.
Mm-hmm.
This dude's a socialist. We know the creator of the series basically was.
Yeah,
they were fighting
absolutely.
against fascism. So it's interesting that they made this character a socialist. And literally everything this guy does is community action.
Yeah. Yeah, he's helping people build, new huts. They're working on irrigation. He's just trying to help them make their community better. And
fighting monsters.
Yeah. And it doesn't say missionaries. A lot of times missionaries come in and they really kind of shove their agenda down people's throats and tell them what they're going to do. Whereas he's like, "What do you need from me? How can I help? Would an irrigation system help you?" He's not trying to make them conform to what he thinks they should be. He just wants to make their lives better. So yeah, he's a great character. I mean, it's hard not to love Jim here.
Yeah, I mean, and well, it's very interesting though that an actor who would become an executive producer of Walker Texas Ranger would be like, oh yeah, I'm playing a socialist basically, or maybe he didn't know.
Yeah,
maybe he didn't know,
yeah.
Or maybe he did, and maybe he just his politics changed over time.
Yeah, it could be. So then we have a conversation with Carla and Paul, where like Carla is like just the vibe here is weird. Like the sky, it looks like a sunset, but the sunset looks weird and it's kind of early. And he's like, yeah, I mean, this could just be the island. And I think he calls it a trick of the atmosphere.
Right.
And then
she's like, even the air is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, just let me get to my work. And she's like, I feel like you treat me like I'm part of your work. I don't like being stared at like a specimen.
Right. Wouldn't it be easier if I was one of your specimens?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's like, I don't like you saying that. Don't say that.
Yeah. So she's like, well, will you take me back to the camp then? Like, I don't want to hang out here while you're doing your work. And I don't feel safe walking in the jungle alone.
Right.
So
and she actually kind of tries to initiate a kiss from the guy. And he's like, nah, I'm good. Yeah. Hey, there's this cool land crab over here. Let's check this out.
Yeah, he picks up this, I mean, it's like some sort of prop, but like it's this weird, like lobstery thing, but it's like big and strange shaped. And he's like, I've not seen a creature like that. That's interesting. They end up getting back to camp. And there's like some sort of like ritual taking place, and they kind of like treat it like a curiosity, the way that like Westerners often do. And we have like women like taking something out of like a little bowl and like handing them to Arcadio, who like looks at them. Or something. Yeah. And eventually one of them starts crying after Arcadio looks at her thing, and she's escorted away.
Well, the Alice has to pull one too, and he's like, "Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!" Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like it's clear this is some sort of lottery, and it is, if
not the kind you want to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Luckily, Alice does not win it.
Yeah. Time. So the trio, like after the kind of ritual seems to end, are sort of like Westerners. They're heading back to their hut. And they're approached by a new guy we've not seen, who also seems like an islander. Like he's not a white person, and he's like, I'd like to take you to meet my master, Esteban Powers.
Right, Esteban Powers.
So this is the guy that that Arcadio mentioned earlier, another English speaker. So they're like, okay, sure, we'll go with you.
But by the way, Carla notes that, hey, I like this dude's style. Mm-hmm. So, okay, she digs the guy. Gotcha. Understand.
Yeah. So as they head through the woods, they come upon a tree that has, like, branches that seem to just kind of move.
Yeah.
Like, on its own.
As it does. As all plants do, right?
Yeah. So it's, that's strange. So they're kind of eyeballing that, but it, everything seems fine. It just kind of has these sort of, prehensile branches. So they get to Esteban's, he's got a beautiful mansion in the middle of the jungle.
Spanish colonial.
Yeah. And it is, the servant that escorted them through the jungle is this kind of big, bald guy, but it seems like all of his other servants are little people. I don't really know.
I can't wait till we find out the explanation of why there's so many just little people just there,
Yeah. So they find Esteban inside. He's playing the piano, and it's one of those like, oh, I didn't see you there, and like,
villainous character is obviously villainous, but maybe not so much.
And right away, Carla's into it. She starts flirting with him. And Esteban is like, you shouldn't stay in the little huts in the village. You all deserve a nice place to stay. Why don't you stay here with me?
But can we talk about how he introduces himself? My fellow Americans.
Right.
Good sir. Good sir. I appreciate it. And maybe, but also probably not. But still, maybe. No. Yeah. Anyway, that's a good intro in my opinion.
Yeah, I liked it.
Right.
Of course.
But yeah, as you know, she's like, I'm Carla to my friends and my enemies. And he's like, I hope I'll never be an enemy. And she's like, well, you don't got to worry about that. You're clearly right in that F-buddy zone right now.
Yeah. And so, yeah, she and Paul are both like, yeah, we would definitely like to stay somewhere nicer. Whereas Jim is like, my work is with the people. I'm not going to stay in your mansion on the hill. I'm going to go live among the people, talk to them about what they need, and help them. That's why I'm here.
Right. And Esteban's like, well, I hope, Doctor, that you and your wife aren't so democratic. Ooh, we're calling shots in here. What's going on?
Yeah. And then to kind of really emphasize how he feels about the locals, they're sitting down to dinner, and we hear like this like snapping sound and crying, and they get up to go see what's going on, and it is the big servant, and he is whipping a woman who he had found stole Paul's flare gun somehow as they were walking to the house. And Esteban is just like, I'm sorry you had to see that, but like is okay with that whole with everything happening. So
I'm sorry that you witnessed that, not that I don't appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
What's the servant's name? Like, I missed it. Like, it starts with a B. I'm going to do this guy a service. I'm going to go on to IMDb, as I should have. And I'm wrong. I keep calling her Alice. It's Alma. So that's on me. Goro. Oh, it's Goro.
That's right. Yeah, because I did end up writing that down because it was, like Mortal Kombat.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. Goro it is.
Only 2 arms, but still a pretty intimidating guy.
Maybe this is where they got it from, though. Like, bald, big dude, mostly bald?
Could be, yeah.
Come on.
And so as, once, Esteban apologizes, they go back to dinner, and Paul finally reveals the reason why he is here. He's, he said he's a scientist and he's here for something important. But we learn that Blood Island was near a nuclear test site. I don't think they ever explicitly say, but it seems like this is like Bikini Atoll or something.
Well, they do mention Bikini Atoll, but they don't say, like, this is close enough to it, right?
Yeah. But so, it wasn't a direct site of nuclear testing, but he thinks that probably the nuclear, the nuclear waste went into the atmosphere, and it's probably close enough that this island may have been affected in a way that might be interesting for research.
Right. We found weird plants and a weird crab that, I think Paul says that they detected large amounts of strontium-19 or 90.
Yeah. So that's his whole thing, is like he wants to continue to look for radiation and mutations, and he's just going to be here for a while until as long as it takes.
Right. Meanwhile, Esteban's starting to have one of his migraines from his epilepsy. They didn't really know what any of that was, I'm guessing.
Right.
Yeah. As someone who deals with migraines, I wouldn't say it's epilepsy, but it does suck. But yeah, he's like, oh, could this affect humans? I wonder why he's worried that it'll affect humans while he's having a migraine. All right. Anyway. Yeah.
So
anything's theoretically possible.
Yeah. So we have like a little later, Goro kindly decides to like escort the whole group around the jungle so that Paul can do a little bit of his research. But somewhere out in there, Carla gets attacked by another one of those prehensile. Or this one's a root. It's not even a branch. It's a root comes out of the ground and attacks her. And
this poor woman loses her shit.
Mm-hmm. They end up having to like hack at it with machetes and like chop the root off.
How wild is it to say they killed the plant?
Yeah. So at this point, they're all just kind of like running through the jungle, and there's more branches reaching for them. They are, they're not, or they don't get grabbed or anything, but they're in danger the whole time. And they eventually bump into a procession of villagers. It's another funeral procession, and the villagers, I think they're like really ashamed about like, okay, we're revealing how bad things are here, so they don't even like really speak to or look at the visitors. They just kind of like go on their way.
They acknowledge that they're there and just move past.
But so the visitors follow, and it turns out these aren't corpses this time. They're living. Yeah, they're living girls who are taken and tied to like St. Andrew's crosses. I might have just told on myself a little bit that I know the name of those. But they
watch out, your Catholicism showing, bro.
So they tie these girls up, and these are in front of the like idol that we saw during the opening credits. And you know, the part of the and these are the girls that won the lottery earlier. So you know, it's clear where this is going. The last step of the process is that the chief, of course, has to take the girls' tops off. It's very important.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, how can you have a whatever this is? I guess a sacrifice without a funeral, without having the tops revealed, right?
Yeah. So
any excuse for breasts, like,
right?
Just anything. Okay.
Yeah. So after he does that, he tells the visitors, like, go back to your homes. Like, you don't need to see what's happening next. There's nothing you can do. Jim seems particularly like he wants to do something, but, like, he really can't. There's, like, a whole village of people here that are like, you know, go away. So we have them later in Arcadio's hut, and we hear just, like, these horrible animal sounds out in the jungle. So, obviously...
something's coming.
Yeah.
A random paper butterfly flies into the room.
Yeah, and they're like watching it, and it's like metamorphosizing in midair. Like its wings are changing shape and size. And yeah, you know, Paul's fascinated. Like he's never seen mutation this quickly. Like, you know, this is usually like a slow evolutionary process, and this is happening right in front of his eyes.
Right. So he's got to get a jar and captures it, right? Now, I could have swore immediately that's the creature just rammed itself down his throat by the way he reacted, but apparently it bit him on the hand. Boy, yeah, I wonder what we're going to see with that hand. That something weird and gnarly's got to come out of that. Yeah.
So
I just stared at Anthony because it doesn't.
Right. So we have Jim doing first aid while we still hear like these monstrous sounds coming from the jungle. And you know, they're like, it seems like some living organisms are undergoing drastic mutation. You know, so then we cut away and we finally see what's making the sounds. We see the topless girls, and they are attacked by this weird sort of lumpy monster. It's
a Golgothan shit demon. There's no way you could convince me otherwise. For those of you who've seen what's it called, Kevin Smith movie. Why is it not clicking right now?
Is that Dogma?
Yes, Dogma. Thank you. I should have. I knew it, but I didn't remember that I knew it. Anyway, yeah. So it's definitely Dogma.
Yeah.
Going on. Where's Loki and I'm sorry, the other angel? Yeah, Matt Damon angel.
So Paul and Jim are like, we need to go help them. Like we hear the screams at this point, not just the groans from the monster. And Arcadio's like, you know, nothing can be done, and he pulls a knife and is like, sit down, you're not going out there. And
Jim's like, oh, this is barbaric.
And this whole process really upsets Alma. She's crying. I think she like runs outside. And then a little later we have Jim talking to Alma, and he's like, there's got to be some way we can stop that animal. Whatever animal it is that your village is sacrificing people to, we can kill it. We can stop it. And she's like, it's not an animal.
It's a man.
Yeah.
And I believe she says this is how he satisfies himself.
Yeah. And
don't
he's
like that.
But I saw the like they were torn to pieces. There can't be an animal. And she's like, no. Yeah, that's what he likes.
That's his thing.
Yeah. And he's like, how can the men of the island be so resigned in the face of death? And she's like, the men are fine. That's how this works. They're not resigned to anything. It only wants the women.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. That makes a lot of sense, right? That they're just like, it ain't coming after me.
Yeah, patriarchy's got a patriarchy.
Yeah,
right?
you know. Yeah. Interesting comment, though, already. There's a lot of commentary going on here.
Absolutely. Yeah, for this movie that's just like, drive-in fodder, blood and boobs, it has some stuff to say for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like back and forth. Basically, we just have to have our American visitors moving back and forth between like the village and Esteban's house.
Right.
So now we have the villagers taking them back. But at a certain point, the villagers are like, "You're on your own. This part of the jungle we don't go through."
Right.
And sure enough, this is where we start to see the trees moving around again.
But Carla's just having a little bit of a picnic.
Mm-hmm. Paul is like, "Why do you stay with me? I don't," or like,
well,
no,
she says, "Why don't you divorce me?"
Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Yeah, you could divorce me too. It seems like you have desires that I can't fulfill, but you keep staying as well." And she's like, "I mean, I'm living my life. Like, I've got nothing to gain by divorcing you. You're not stopping me from doing what I want, and you provide stability. Why
Pretty
would I leave?
much it's a lose-lose if I leave." Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that, if you wanted to divorce me, I wouldn't contest it. You definitely have every right to. I hate feeling like I owe you something, but it's not in my best interest to initiate this. So if you're not gonna, I'm not gonna. And he's like, I really gave up on you a long time ago as far as that goes. So I guess we're just going to kind of continue in the way we're continuing.
But she's like, yeah, okay. But if you didn't still love me, you wouldn't put up with half the shit I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's kind of like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. They've really come to this weird truce where he's just like, they both love each other in some way, but they also have their own thing that they need to do. And
right.
And
she needs to get laid, and he clearly does not care about it at all.
Yeah. So again, it's weird. It's like, I think that they almost have come to a place where they're at peace with this, but I think that like society is not okay with what they're doing, so they keep butting heads against it. Like, clearly this isn't right. We know this is bad and wrong, and that's what the world is telling us. Well, society
is telling us it's wrong, but we are cool with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think, I think that this is, I mean, I feel like we saw this a lot with, like, gay people 10, 15, 20 years ago, where it was like, we know what we want, we know what feels right to us, but the world is telling us it's wrong, so we just have to, we either have to stuff down what we want, or we have to do what we want and feel like we're evil and bad for it. And it feels kind of like that's where they are with their relationship. Like, we're going to keep doing it, and we're just going to keep suffering because we think it's wrong.
Right. That's so sick. Like, that people, society's gross sometimes, for sure.
Yeah. They've kind of just been stopped in the middle where, like, the villagers dropped them off and they don't feel safe proceeding. But now Goro appears and he's like, I'll take you back the rest of the way to Esteban's.
Yeah, absolutely. And meantime, we cut to Jim, working with Alma and the tribespeople, I guess. They're building irrigation ditches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We get this bit where, like, some of the villagers, they're speaking, probably some... It's probably like Tagalog or something, but like we don't. It's not subtitled or whatever. But they're saying something to Alma, and it seems like they might be kind of like talking bad about like Westerners coming here and getting involved in our stuff or whatever. Yeah. But there's just kind of vibes there that you don't really know exactly what they're saying.
If they're not like mocking them, they're teasing her about being with a guy like that, like Jim.
Yeah, they're definitely poking fun at something. And then, so we go back to Esteban's where Paul and Carla have arrived, and they're talking about, the murders that they witnessed last night. And Esteban's like, who did it? Who did you see the man? And Paul's like, I don't even know if it was a man. It was something horrible. Esteban's like, have you seen the sunset? It's beautiful tonight. And they're like, yeah, it is. Yesterday it was not. It was bad and unsettling.
Weird.
But it seems like even the sunset is mutating here.
Maybe even the air itself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then we cut to a couple who've run off to, do what they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we see like trees, starting to attack them, and we end up like a bunch of villagers hear screams and run in, and we have this sort of like full-on fight between like a monster tree and a mob of villagers.
Right, and it appears that the tree has kidnapped a toddler.
Yeah. This tree to me felt very like Evil Dead,
Yep.
Which I guess this predates that, so maybe this was a little bit of inspiration.
Maybe this movie has inspired so much of our culture that we don't even know, right?
Could be, yeah.
We got Goro, we got evil trees. Come on, what's going on here?
Yeah.
We got a shit demon. It all comes back to this one movie, Anthony.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they've literally stabbed the tree to death. Mm-hmm. And, now it's time to prepare more sacrifices because clearly what we did isn't working. So let's do more of that same thing.
Yeah, so we have another lottery, and this time it seems like Alma may have drawn a bad child.
Oh, no.
And of course,
Jim doesn't want to be part of it, so he says, fuck this, and they beat his ass. And
yeah.
Throw him in the hut.
Yeah, he tries to rescue Alma because, as we said, there's definitely like a budding romance there. But obviously he can't. He's no match for an entire village of people. So we see him later tied up, laying on the floor of a hut, and he's got a couple guards, and he's like, "Please, like, let me go. I can fight the monster. Like, I can. Especially if we all team up. There's so many of us. There's only one of him. We can defeat him.
Literally, we all could take it down together."
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a rich person. Anyway,
exactly. Yes.
Yes, they beat him up, push him around in there. They're not interested in hearing what he has to say. Mm-hmm. But he sees a lamp, oil lamp petroleum lamp that he brought, kerosene probably. But and he's like, I have bonds that go up when you touch them to fire. So let's maybe do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so like it's sacrifice time, so that his guards leave, and this is the perfect time. So he manages to burn through the ropes.
But of course, these sacrifices are off in the distance, so they do a full strip. Like you can see these ladies are completely naked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
good for them. I hope they got paid a lot. Anyway,
yeah. Jim, once he gets loose, he starts to run out, and he bumps into Arcadio. And he manages to, like, now it's just one-on-one.
Let's talk about the fight between him and his guards. Because, like, with his hand still behind his back, he, like, somehow knocks out one and Jinya on-tops the other guy with his legs around his midsection. Like, what the fuck? How do you knock somebody out that way? How do you do that?
Yeah, so I think because he hears the sacrifice, it's just like he has got to get moving.
But once again, he runs into Arcadio, beats the shit out of Arcadio.
Mm-hmm. And Arcadio's like, please don't. You're endangering all of us. Like, just let us do what we need to do. This is important. And obviously Jim's not listening, so he
takes his knife.
Runs to the site, and the monster arrives and starts attacking. He manages. Jim has his flare gun.
Which he rooted out. The one that was stolen earlier as well. So Chekhov's flare gun, gotcha.
Yeah. And so he fires it at the monster, which seems to kind of like scare it off a little bit. And he is able to untie Alma and rescue her. But unfortunately, the other girl, the unnamed other village girl, she has already been killed by the monster.
See, that's the thing. You've got to ask your parents for a name, because if you don't, you're going to get killed every time. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was dumb. But yeah, so she's like, hey, maybe don't do this, though, because it might actually mess everything up.
Yeah, like, Alma is, as much as she's falling for Jim and obviously wants to live, she's like, you don't understand. Like, it would have been better if you let me die. And he ends up kind of basically dragging her back to the village. And when they get there, all the huts, the doors are closed and locked. No one will let them in. It's clear that they, the villagers want nothing to do with them.
Wait a second. This is from Pumpkinhead. No, I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, they won't let them in, and like they have to find another place to hide.
Mm-hmm. So he does end up finding a hut that's empty. It looks like the people from who live there have fled. And she's like, yeah, I'm sure that they've locked up with their families or something. No one. they don't like what you've done. Like, you have put us all at risk. And he finds some clothes there so that she can finally, put some clothes back
Cover
on.
her up. Yeah.
And she's like, we have to go because I've been marked for death now. Whether the villagers drag us back out and kill me, or the evil one finds me, I'm gonna die.
Right.
And he's like, that's foolish. Like, we just need to explain to the other villagers we can stop this. Mm-hmm. So he it seems like he's maybe going to take her back to Esteban's or something. So they're like walking through the village.
Well, yeah, the villagers come upon them, and because Jim's a fair play kind of guy, he lets them know that he's there by firing the flare gun at them instead of just running away in the darkness.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so they're surrounding them with spears, but the flare gun works to kind of like distract them or scare them a little bit, and he gets a little path and is able to run with Alma. They escape from the villagers, head back into the jungle, and of course the villagers are not going to follow into the jungle. They'll just let the trees or the monster or whatever, something will take care of Jim and Alma.
This is a situation that resolves itself more or less, right? Mm-hmm. But they do make it to Esteban's mansion or compound.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'm scared. I don't know that this is going to work. Like, I don't know if I should be here. And he's like, trust me, Esteban will keep us safe. And here you can be safe from the monster and your people who are trying to kill you.
Yes, this is clearly a safe place, right?
Yeah.
So as they get in, Carla's like, Jim, I've seen you've been a naughty boy. So she's kind of flirting with him even now.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, where's Esteban? And she's like, oh, he had one of his spells.
Yeah, his epileptic migraine.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, you should come see what Paul found a monster, though. They go into Paul's little, makeshift lab, and he's got just a regular-ass cockroach in a jar. And he's like, wait, what? This was like a monster a minute ago. It's mutating quickly as well.
Yeah, he's like, I just left the room to come get you and then come back, and now this is it.
Yeah, and Carla's like, what do you mean? Why are you acting surprised? We've already seen that one flying bug did that. The sunset's doing that. That's just this island. Everything is just in this constant state of flux. Paul's like, yeah, I guess you're right. It's just, we haven't seen something go back to like a normal form that is familiar to us.
Right. But it seems like whenever they leave, she shuts the door and she kind of, it almost seems like maybe she switched it out, but no, maybe she's just worried. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not what happened at all.
So we have just like a little later, everybody's kind of like settling down for bed. Paul is already asleep in bed, and Carla...
But Carla's like, I know how to wake this guy up.
Yeah, so she, tries to like stir him. She's trying to like make out with him or whatever. He is very asleep, or he is pretending to be asleep because he is very not interested.
Wild, man. Just absolutely wild. Like, I feel like if you don't like someone this much, maybe Paul's more into Jim, but it could also just be Paul's not into anybody. Like that.
Yeah. So, of course, Carla is bored, and
she wants to find somebody to ring her bell.
Yep. So she gets out of bed and starts walking around the mansion. She's in, like, a little flimsy nightgown, like, straight out of, like, a Hammer film.
Yeah. She finds Esteban asleep, and she's like, all right, I tried this once. Maybe this time it'll work. Mm-hmm. So she kind of essays Esteban.
Yeah, but before anything can really go on there, Goro walks into Esteban's room, and he's like, you got to get out of here. You're in danger.
Right. Also, don't touch my man. Right?
Yeah. So when Carla comes out, Goro closes the door and locks it from the outside.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so then we have, like, the next morning, everybody's sitting down to breakfast. This is, we tend to have these meals for, like, exposition.
Right.
And so Esteban's like, so Jim and Alma, like, what led you all here last night? Like, how did you end up here?
Oh, Jim just offended the evil one.
Right, yeah. So we need to, like, escape the island. And Esteban's like, boats don't come through here very often, so you're stuck here a while. You're welcome to stay here on the compound, but you are stuck on the island. Jim's like, but if I can just get some help, we can fight the monster and just make this island safe for everybody. Like, that's why I'm here, is to make this place a better place for everybody. So I just wish I could get some other people to buy into this. I'm one guy. I can't do it alone. I'm a community activist. This is what we do. We work together.
Right, exactly. I mean, he's not wrong, right? Mm-hmm. But then we get a discussion about, Paul and Esteban. They once again talk about things reverting to its original shape. Mm. And then I forget exactly how this comes up, but Esteban says, oh, yeah, well, or they were talking about the possible tests on Bikini Atoll and everything nearby. And Esteban's like, well, you see, people really didn't live here before the tests on Bikini Atoll, so they couldn't be affected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they migrated here later.
Right. As a matter of fact, I came in, kind of when it was going on. Mm-hmm. My family was, the first Spanish settlers or colonists that came here. And, me and my wife, Patrice, we were, kind of living here for a while. We went away back to Spain. That's when all the stuff with Franco started happening. Mm-hmm. And, she passed away. I came back here. And that's when the test started. And everyone's like, wait, what?
Yeah, that would make you 50 plus years old. And you do not look. Yeah. You look like maybe in your 30s.
Oh, well, thanks. I do skin moisturizing.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, when we arrived here, my wife, she died within a year, I guess, from the radiation, but I've just stayed healthy. I don't know, I'm just lucky like that, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I need to. I think I have another attack coming on. I'm gonna head back to my room.
Goro immediately comes in. Here's your medicine, master. Here you go, buddy. Take this now. Do it now.
And as he's leaving, he's it looks like a werewolf transformation the way he's behaving. He's he's in pain. He's grimacing, doubling over. We don't see his body physically change yet, but it's clear something major is happening to him.
Right. This leads me to something I was thinking about before we started recording, and that is, how interesting is it that most Frankenstein things have more overlap with werewolves than it does with zombies? I feel we're dealing a little bit more with werewolf-ish situations than undead, pure undead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Oddly enough, vampires are also a big thing, but.
Yeah, I don't know, I have heard people try to debate whether or not the Frankenstein monster is a zombie, and yeah, I think that the vibes are just so different between those genres. Zombies, even the original zombies that are more
just people that are drugged, right?
Yeah, there's this sort of drugging and slavery and these religious rituals, and then we have the Romero sort of reanimated corpses, chemicals and stuff. It all just, I don't know, it's, even though it's, they're both reanimated corpses, the vibe in terms of what the stories, or how the stories play out, what the sort of metaphorical stuff that we're approaching through them, Romero's movies especially have so many, each one is sort of its own piece on a different topic about society. Yeah. But
he really only did continuity at the end, and even that was probably the worst part of him, of his movies.
Yeah. But yeah, it just feels they're just coming at horror from a completely different angle. Which, and especially here, it's even weirder where we've got all this sort of vaguely voodoo-esque stuff going on this fictional island. This seems like it would be a perfect place for zombie overlap, and we still have none of it.
Yeah. Very interesting just to think about.
Yeah. So yeah, when he leaves, we have I think
Carla goes after him.
Yeah, she steps out into the woods or into the jungle and is again attacked by vines, and
she has the final girl circuit of just the vines and trees attacking her.
Yeah, she's running through the forest. She ends up bumping into the monster, who isn't able to get a good grip on her, but he does manage to get a good grip on all of her clothes.
Wild how he just gets her clothes.
Yeah, it's funny how this happens sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's just now running through the jungle naked. Meanwhile, we go back to the house where Paul, is waking up Jim, and he's like, Carla's missing. I don't know where she is. I've looked all over, and Jim's like, have you looked all over the house? Like, not just in your room, but, other guys' rooms? Wink, wink. Yeah. And Paul's like, yes, I checked Esteban's room, I checked Goro's room. I've checked all the dudes' rooms. She's not in anybody's bed. Those are the first places I went, yeah. Yeah. And he's like, she's got to be in the jungle. And Jim's like, okay, let's go look. Right. And Jim's like, let me grab my my flare gun's missing. Shit. Okay, yeah, she's definitely up to something. Yeah.
Then Alma also goes out and I believe Paul, Jim, and Alma all run out to go save Carlo.
Mm-hmm. And we see that Goro and several of the little people servants are all watching them and sort of following, but definitely from a distance. They're not getting involved in this, but they definitely want to see what's happening.
Right.
And we get a little bit, the vines are definitely a big thing here, but like here they're just kind of ominously wriggling at them. I think one of them maybe grabs like Alma's ankle, but they just chop it with a machete really easily.
Right.
But Jim's like, I think you're too hurt. Maybe you should go back. And Paul's like, you can take her back if you want, but I'm not stopping. I gotta find... Like, he does care about Carla in his way. He's like, I'm gonna find Carla and make sure she's safe.
Right. So he's gonna be a big damn superhero about this. Mm-hmm. So that's when he runs into Goro out in the middle of the woods. Goro's a little bit bigger than Paul, so you can imagine how this goes.
Yeah, Goro's like, you need to go back to the house. It's no use. You're too late. And Paul's like, no, I'm gonna find Carla. And he's like, no, you're not.
Not in one piece, you're not.
Yeah, so Paul is not having it. He takes his machete and starts trying to attack Goro, but Goro, he's not elderly, but he's an older man, and Goro is like, he is a strong dude, so he's
buff. The dude, could kick ass.
Yeah, so he manages to get the machete away, and then we see
he brings it in with a bear hug and Paul's neck in between them. Let's just say that.
But it turns out Jim is not all the way back to the house yet. He hears the commotion, and he fires the flare gun at Goro from a distance.
Yeah, hits him.
Hits him in the shoulder, and that's enough to deter Goro, so he runs off into the jungle as well.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man, the guy's a badass if he can shrug off some white phosphorus like that, okay? Just saying.
And as soon as Goro disappears into the jungle, suddenly Esteban appears. He stumbles into view looking like he's, kind of still recovering from his spell.
Hey, there's a lot of blood. And he's like, oh, don't worry, it's not my blood. No, he doesn't say that, but it isn't.
Yeah. And he's shirtless and disheveled. Again, very werewolfy. And he's like, I had an epileptic fit and I just woke up in the jungle.
Right. Oh, Goro killed Paul, by the way. And Esteban's like, oh, no, we have to stop him. He's gone mad. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, he may hurt others.
Yeah.
So Jim's like, well, let's get you back. You're still recovering. Let's get you back to the house.
Right. As they do, like, no one notices it, but Esteban's transforming on the way in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this time, like, his hand starts mutating, and he's like, and I feel another attack coming on. I'm going to run to my room and get my pills. Jim follows him in and is like, I can't find the flare gun. I was going to go back out, but do you know where it is?
Right. What's wrong with your hand, by the way?
Yeah, like his hand, it's like in The Fly, like it's like his hand is fully just like this weird mutated claw, and he's like covering it with the blanket in his bed, and he's like,
nothing.
I'm okay, but just leave me. I'm no good. And so Jim's like, okay, fine. And as soon as he steps out, Esteban just like really starts mutating, and he's the monster we've been seeing in the jungle. I mean, we knew this, but like, now it's fully revealed.
I think to a degree it gets revealed to him because he does seem genuinely shocked that this is happening. So maybe he passes out, then transforms.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, this is the first time he's been awake.
Yeah. So we have Jim and Alma, taking off into the jungle.
Jim gets got by the trees this time. He gets wrapped up, and Alma saves him.
Yeah, and they hear the sounds of the monster from behind them in the house, and they're like, "Oh no!" And Jim's like, "It's fine. Esteban has weapons. He can fend for himself. He can defeat the monster, or at least get away. We've got places to go. We need to keep going."
Right. So they run out into the forest and they find Carla's mutilated remains. It's almost like the tree's wearing Carla.
Yeah.
Not great.
Yeah, she is very chewed up. We have her head is the only and it's a mannequin head. It does not look great, but it's got enough of a blonde wig that we can assume it's Carla.
I don't think she deserved this, but okay, whatever. Someone's got to die a gory death, right?
Right, yeah. And we see the monster off in the distance, and Alma's like, "Jim, go save yourself. He just wants me. If you go, he won't go after you."
Jim ain't having that. He's like, "Nah, we're good."
Yeah.
We'll do something.
So he starts firing at the monster, and then Goro jumps out of the jungle and starts wrestling the gun away from Jim. And Jim's like, "What the fuck, man? We're trying to kill this monster." And Goro then says, "Monster, you are safe now. The sickness will pass away as it always does."
So now they know that Esteban is the quote-unquote evil one.
Yeah.
But of course, what happens when you try to confront this version of Esteban?
Yeah.
You get got.
Yeah. So the monster is less loyal to Goro than Goro is to the monster. So it kills him. Then Jim shoots it several more times until he just runs out of bullets.
Yeah. This is a normal gun, by the way, not the flare gun that seems to have been working.
Yeah. So Jim and Alma, keep running. They get back to the village with the monster on their tails.
The chief finally lets them inside.
But it's full of dudes with spears. And the chief and Arcadio's basically like, you've endangered your people twice already. We're gonna sacrifice both of you to the monster.
And Jim's like, "We could take this thing. We all could take this thing." Arcadio responds with, "You've said that a few times right now, dude." He's like, "Yeah, you haven't done it."
Yeah, I said I needed your help, and instead he says you preferred to quake like frightened women here in your homes.
Yeah, boo, a little bit. Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, well, what can we do now?"
We have to defeat it through collective action, guys. Come on.
Yeah, what I've been saying this whole time. And so then we see that the monster, it does not come into the village. It's just kind of rampaging around in the sacrifice area.
Yeah.
He's just mad. There's supposed to be ladies here for me to tear up, and there's
please stay away from the unsacrificing and sacrificing zone.
So then we have Jim leading a bunch of the villagers to go fight the monster. They all have torches, classic, they don't have pitchforks here. It's not an agrarian society, but we got lots of torches.
Torches and spears.
But they just kind of throw the torches at the monster, and they just are, they're just landing around at his feet. It's not really doing much. It kind of
works. They scared her.
Yeah, it's it's not hurting him, but it's kind of routing him at least. So they eventually get him into a corridor in the village where he's kind of fenced in. He's kind of kettled.
Right. I guess he could smell women though, because he does run into that one hut that just happens to have Alma that they're using as bait.
Yeah, and so of course it starts trying to attack her, and the villagers are like, "Well, this will work." So they just set the hut on fire with Alma still inside.
Right. Somehow she gets out. Jim comes in to fight the monster and save Alma, who's already saved, I guess. And, he gets roughed up, but somehow the monster just throws him out of the burning hut.
Yeah. And once Jim flies out, the building just collapses. So it appears that Alma and the monster have died in the fire. Yeah. But then Esteban, not the monster, badly burned but still alive, stumbles out of the collapsed building, and then seems to kind of fall over unconscious or dead.
Right. If I would honestly just double tap the guy just to make sure while he's in this form.
Yeah.
We're gonna. Sorry, bud.
And so then we just have, like, a little later...
Do you like sexy interpretive dance? Because Eddie Romero definitely does.
Yeah, definitely going to be a big part of this whole series. The last sort of scene of the movie is we have one village girl doing an elaborate dance in front of that giant monster idol, and eventually others join in, and it's, this very
They're partnering
erotic,
off. Like, the girls run in, do some dances, finds a dude, and partners up with him, and then Alma shows up, and you know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So yeah, she kind of leads Jim over, into the woods, and they're kind of making out, and we see a lot
the designated fuck zone.
Yeah, a lot of other couples are leaving the sacrifice area and hiding in the woods where they can, have sex in sort of obscurity. Not really. They're all kind of around each other, but
they're all within 20 feet of each other.
Yeah, and that's the end.
Hey, good for Jim.
Yeah.
So that was a movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, like we said, like there's definitely some themes here. There's some stuff about collective action, like that's the thing that ends up working at the end. They do manage to defeat the monster. There's obviously some talk about like radioactivity being bad, that this, is a danger to human and other animal life.
Some gender equality, but not exactly the most or best.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag for sure, but like, it has some stuff to say, and like, it's clear, like as we talked about with the last one, like, Terror is a Man was sort of like this first horror movie made in the Philippines, and American International Pictures bought it up, and they're like, hey, we can definitely sell this in America, and then at that point, they sort of like teamed up, and I think this is like American International giving some money to Eddie Romero and the other people there in the Philippines and being like, all right, lean into this harder. We want drive-through shit. We want boobs. We want gore. Just give us something that teens will make out to. And they were like, yeah, we can definitely do that. We can do that with what we want to do, but also what is going to sell so that we can keep making movies. And yeah, it just feels like a marriage, like a perfect match between these two companies, doing their own thing in a weird way. So yeah, like I understand why some people see this as the beginning of a trilogy, because it definitely feels like a big leap forward from the previous one, and we're gonna see it sort of continue as this series goes on from there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're still on this blood train, so we've just done the Brides of Blood Island, and now we're moving on to the Mad Doctor of Blood Island next week.
Yep. Yeah. So join us for that one. I'm excited to continue to find out what kind of wacky stuff happens on the mysterious Blood Island. Indeed. Where can they find us, my friend? So you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. We're also over on YouTube. And of course, you can always find us at patreon.com/thefrankencast. There's a lot of ways to support us, but that's definitely the most, like, if you want to support us monetarily, that's the way to do it. And there's lots of bonus episodes over there to reward you for your donations. We definitely appreciate your support in any way that you can, but that is one way that does help out a lot. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. We appreciate the support and everything, and that definitely helps us keep going. All right. Anything else we got to say, my friend? I think that's it. All right. Well, thank you once again, and to be continued.
Looks like you've survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.